fifths, which is 60%. So their rate of return was actually 60%, which was the 6% times the number of years, 10. So yeah. So rate of return, the ratio of the money earned over the money invested as a percent, or a decimal, 0.6 or 6%. Okay, so in summary, the key ideas: simple interest is determined only on the principal. Okay, you have to understand that. The value of the investment that earns simple interest over time is a linear function. So notice this, we didn't graph them, okay? But if you notice this graph here, graphing the interest, guys, if you graph the interest, remember it's the same amount each year. So that means that the slope, or the rate of increase, is the exact same every year, so the points will form a straight line. It's not this way with compound interest, which we'll talk about later. Okay? So this is the value of an investment, so your principal would be right about here, and then it keeps growing, right? Total investment, the future value. This is the interest alone. So you've got no interest when you first start, and then you've got a little bit, and then you've got more, and so on. Okay, so it's a linear function. So the amount of simple interest earned is right here, capital I equals PRT. So it's the principal times the rate times the time. Here's the future value, A equals P plus PRT. Unless otherwise stated, the interest is always assumed to be annual. Another way to say annual is per annum. Okay, per annum. That's another way to say every year. Interest can, however, be paid out at different intervals, such like semi-annually, that's twice a year, or 12 times a year, 52 times a year, and 365 times a year. Okay? If you have a question that says the interest is paid like semi-annually like that 2 times a year, then really this interest part, the PRT, the term is half a year. So it's like you have your principal times your yearly interest rate, and then it's times 0.5 of a year each time. So the number of times that it gets paid out for simple interest doesn't matter. It's just the per year. So in compound interest, it's going to make a big deal, but not here. So if your rate is 8%, okay, 0.08%, and it's paid off semi-annually, that means that you get this much every half of a year, because the term is only half of a year.
Okay, and then if it gives you a certain amount of years, then would you multiply it by that?
Well, so for question 2b, it says 1.25% interest paid quarterly for 4 years on $10,000. Okay, so you're going to get. Oh, that was 1b I just read? Okay. Suppose the interest is paid semi-annually and Cam withdraws all the money after 3.25 years. How much money will he have? So it's only paid semi-annually. So after 3 years, he's going to get the full interest, right, for each full year. And then he's going to get paid every half a year after that. So if he pulls out 3 1/4 years, he's only going to get 3 years worth of interest. If he pulls his money out 3.5 years in, then he'll get half of years of interest there.
What's this interest?
So if it's paid semi-annually, you don't get twice as much interest. Let's say you get $30 of interest per year. Okay? If it's paid semi-annually, that means you get $15 every 6 months. That's all.
Okay.
So you don't actually get any more. It's just paid out a little more frequently. Okay? Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if it's paid, 10 times a year, you get $3 10 times a year. Whatever. What does that ask? So you know what I mean? So you don't get any more or less. It's just paid out more often. Okay, so for 2a, let's go back to 2a then. And so we're trying to find r here first. So let's subtract $5,000. That's $1,500 over here. It's 5 years. That's the term. That's where this 5 comes from. So now we have this, 5,000 times R times 5. So if I divide by 5,000, and I divide by 5 as well, so it gets rid of those two, I have R here equals 1,500 divided by 25,000. And so yeah, so the decimal is 0.06. So that's 0.06, which is 6%. Okay? Yeah, that's right. So I'm just isolating for R here. Yeah, so 5,000 times 5 is what I need to divide off. And that's 25,000. So that's where this comes from. 25,000 here, 25,000 there. Okay, so the R is 6%. All right, so for 2B then, 2B says, suppose that interest is paid semi-annually and Cam withdraws all of the money after 3.25 years. How much money will he have? Okay. So, it gets paid semi-annually, which in simple interest, it doesn't matter. As I explained before, you only get half of your yearly interest if it's paid semi-annually. You just get half of it twice instead of all of it once. So 3.25 years. So if you think about it, he puts his money in, there goes 1 year, so he gets 1 year's worth of interest right here. Then 2 years goes by, he gets another 2 years worth of interest. 3 years go by, 3 years. And then here's 4 years, but he takes all of his money out here. So he only gets 3 full years of interest, even though this is actually paid twice a year. You see, he missed this interest payment here. So he only gets 3 full years of interest. Okay, so then 5,000 bucks times 6% times 3 years. That should be how much money he actually gets. This 3 years worth of interest. That's it. The interest is 900, so he has his original 5,000 plus 900 bucks. So is that the answer for B there? Okay, that's what he ends up with.